It's Friday, March 31st, 2028, opening day for the Sacramento Athletics in 2028. I've been gone for a while. I'm back from Europe, and I'm ready to break down the new look Sacramento Athletics with 4 new starting pitchers in the rotation. We lose Nick Lodolo and a few others, and so we have to completely replace and restock the starting rotation. Cade Cavalli is our number one starter this season, coming over in a trade from St. Louis. Very similar to how we got Lodolo in the first place, as Lodolo was actually on the Cardinals, not the Reds, when we traded for him. And funnily enough, he was traded from the Nationals to the Cardinals for Chase Davis, who we have on the team right now as well. We traded Spencer Howard. Well, a lot of these guys, let me just say, a lot of these guys are nothing. Lozano, Campos, Campos is fine. Camilo Hernandez, a lot of them were traded just because I wanted to get as much salary retained by St. Louis as possible. Half the deal is retained, so we're only paying him about $3 million a year, a little bit more than that. Spencer Howard was in our minor league system. He can start for the Cardinals, and it looks like he broke camp with them. He pitched in AAA for us last year, and it was fine. I don't care about giving him up. We could sign a million more pitchers just like him. Brock Jones, on the other hand, is someone who I'm a bit worried about missing out on, but we gave him ample opportunity, almost 300 plate appearances over the past 2 seasons, and he hasn't been good. I mean, maybe an OPS plus around 100, but just this low average, low OBP, relying on the homer, it's not a guy I really want to build around. He's 27 years old already, and I have a ton of lefties, so I was okay to move on from him and get a number one starter. That's the big thing. Lozano and Hernandez are nothing. Juan Campos is a 19-year-old relief prospect. If he was a starter, I wouldn't have moved on from him, but he's a right-handed 19-year-old relief prospect. Not really somebody that I'm scared about losing. And we also were given Jonathan Morales, who's in AAA with us right now. He was on their trade block. They just wanted to dump his minimum salary, so I took that on. He's our third catcher in AAA. And then Luke and Baker, who I should go into this now. I just packaged in a trade to get the 40-man roster sorted to the Seattle Mariners. We traded him along with Jason Vossler, who we had acquired from the Mariners. I was wheeling and dealing a little bit. I'll get into the Emerson Hancock trade in a minute. But Vossler and Baker for Austin Bergner, who's a 30-year-old minor league relief pitcher. I just wanted to get their 2 contracts off the books. So Baker and Vossler, thought about keeping them on the team, but just moved on from them with the jam we have at first base. So that's Cade Cavalli. Cavalli. I don't know. I'm from Michigan, so I'll probably say Cavalli. Casey Mize, $3.8 million contract for 1 season. He missed most of last season with a something or other. Shoulder inflammation. Or maybe not. No, it's 2028. So what did he miss? I guess he had... Oh, no, it was this rotator cuff inflammation that went into free agency. He was healed by the time we got him. Then he got bronchitis and an elbow strain. But he's our number 2 starter right now. I don't really love that, but we don't have many other options. He did the past 2 seasons he's been fully healthy, been like a pretty good pitcher. In 2025 and 2026 with the Tigers and Padres respectively. And for this little money, I'd like to see what he could do. Jesus Garindo back for, I believe, year 4, yes. And last season was the second best of his career. He finally got a full workload, 141 and a third innings. He's fragile now. Seems like his peak was this area, and we'll see what he can do for us this year, but I don't anticipate him sticking around. He wants like $6 million in arbitration. I don't think he's that good of a starter, but we need him right now. Mitch Keller, a captain, signs for $1.9 million. He was with the Tigers and Cardinals last season, didn't pitch entirely well, was also traded at the deadline the previous season, so he went from real life in Pittsburgh, went to San Diego for a year, pitched very well, actually. Then went to Toronto, pitched poorly, went to Detroit, pitched well, and then at the next deadline went to St. Louis, now a free agent again, hoping he can be a fine number 4 starter. Now, Emerson Hancock, I don't really want to start, but this is what our manager, which is Troy Barrick, this is what he has decided. With Hancock in the starting rotation, I had a few more starters up. I kind of just emptied the clip in free agency and signed as many veteran pitchers as possible. Tyler Gilbert might come up and see some playing time as a starter. I was like I said in the last video, we barely had any money to make additions, and I needed to replace an entire starting rotation and like 4 position players. Tanner Hall is down in AAA to start the year. Excuse me, he's another guy who I can anticipate starting a few games. I brought back Kyle Mueller, who after we traded him to Miami pitched well. Joey Estes is still on the 40-man roster. I've signed Davis Martin, Freddie Tarnok back, Tyler Wells, Yohan Oviedo. Just a bunch of guys that, the cream will rise to the top. Griffin Canning, another one of these guys. And Hancock, we got, not Keller. Hancock, we got in that trade with Vosler for Luis Sandoval, who was a left-handed hitting outfielder who we had signed he was an internationally generated free agent from Cuba. Too many lefties, too many low-contact guys. I was okay to move on from him. And Tyro Estrada, who was kicking around our AAA, AA area for like 4 years. I don't know why he kept re-signing with us. He hasn't played the majors since 2025. But I was never going to call him up, and now he's broke camp with the Astros. Good for him. Mason Miller back as the closer. He's the best rated player on the team. I wish that he still had a starting ability because he would be our number 1 or 2 starter, but alas. Anthony Maldonado, who was our closer for the majority of last season, now slides into the setup role. Josh Fleming back on a $1.28 million contract. I had him, and then I DFA'd him, and then I wanted him again. I spent a little more money than I had to, but he's back. Cody Funderburk, these ratings are so good, and he just can't put it together for extended periods of time. This is his last chance, I think, at the major league level. We've needed lefties. Trace Bright is a Rule 5 draft pick from the Baltimore Orioles. He has not pitched in the major league, now at age 27. Was a 5th-round pick in 2022 of the Orioles. He can spot start if we need him to, but this control is a bit too low. Stuff is high. Kind of look at him as a Joe Boyle replacement who ends up with the Dodgers on a cheap deal, and he really improved in the offseason, now up to a 55 overall potential. I let him go. I really wish I signed him, and this one might come back to bite me because he could probably start for us this season if he was still here. But actually, I mean, if you look at his spring training stats, he was poor. This really came in one game, though, but I'll keep tabs on him. He just hasn't broken through at the major league level yet, and with the ratings that I saw, I was okay letting him go. Newcomb, another guy who I thought about letting go. He's back now for year 6 with the Athletics franchise. He just keeps sticking around. You can't kill him. I needed a lefty. I didn't really want to pay him $2 million, but he's been good, and he just keeps chugging. So we keep Sean Newcomb. Nick Frasso also sticks around. He's out of options. So if he pitches poorly like he did a season ago and the season prior, he'll probably be exposed to waivers. Angel Zerpa, another lefty brought in, can be a starter. I thought he'd end up being the 5th starter, but instead he's coming out of the pen after a good season as a hybrid starter reliever in Philadelphia last year, 3.70 ERA, 4.21 FIP. He's likable, as his personality class suggests. He is now a specialist in our bullpen against lefties. Now, the lineup. This is the biggest bugaboo that I've had to face with this franchise so far. We can't hit. We were the bottom tier offense, I think, each of the last 3 seasons. So, what additions did we make? Not many, but along the margins, maybe it can help as we wait for our prospect crop to come up, which now it looks like have been pushed back to a year or two from now. Lawrence Butler, back as always. I thought about trading him as I thought that this would be a high watermark for him, but I can't give away, decent hitters for... Sorry, just got a phone call. I can't give away decent hitters for nothing with the offense that we have, and he's 27, only getting paid $2.8 million. He hit the cover off the ball in spring training, so excited to see what he can do this season. Chase Davis also killed the ball in spring training, but has not put it together for us yet at the major league level. Had 100 plate appearances last year, and he's kind of the guy that I was okay to replace Brock Jones with. So he's on the minimum, 26 years old. Had a good rookie year in Washington, so I have faith in him. Denzel Clark, I had undergo the development lab thing that can reset injury proneness or raise it up, and he actually went from fragile to normal injury proneness. And that's a big deal because he has yet to play more than 122 games in a season, and that was his best season when he wasn't hampered by so many injuries. So I would really love to see a full season from Clark. These ratings have regressed, but he's a Gold Glove caliber center fielder, and see what he can do this year. Henry Bolte back again. I need to see it from him for a whole season, man. I'm so excited. He's got such a cool skill set. 65 outfield range, 65 power. He's just got to do it. Now, 24 years old. He's had 3 seasons at the bigs so far, and maybe this is the one that he breaks out in. Tyler O'Neill is the veteran outfielder we bring in. $4.4 million contract. Most recently was with the Minnesota Twins. Was an average hitter and a good defender in left. I believe he won another Gold Glove. No, but 2 with the Cardinals a few years ago in real life. He's a kind of a complete hitter. Very good against lefties. I don't know. I just needed somebody, and he was one of the only guys that fit the bill that wasn't very expensive. We'll see if he can play well for us. Let's go to the catchers. Ronald Hernandez comes over in another trade with the Mariners. He was traded 3 times in the calendar year of 2027 from the Mets to the Twins to the A's. He actually, if this is the same Ronald Hernandez, I believe that I had him in the White Sox franchise, and he was actually the starting catcher for our World Series team. So hopefully he can do that for us. Who knows? We, along with Manning West, who is a reliever, and Chandler Redmond, who was another guy in the minimum that they just wanted to attach to this trade. We trade Abraham Tejera, who's this guy, just another guy who just stunk for us at the major league level, and I was okay to move on from with the righties we have in the outfield. Frank Ludi is a 19-year-old outfielder, not really a position player at all with that defense, can't run bases. I don't care about moving on from him. Sergio Casarubias, fragile reliever, prospect. Demarion Terrell, just a bunch of guys that I traded away. Juan Rosario. I needed a switch hitting catcher under team control for a while, and hopefully we can get that with Hernandez, who I have experience with in the other sim that I did. Daniel Suzak back, now the starting catcher after 2 seasons in a part-time role. We're going to see what he can do with this skill set. He's a leader, potential to have 60 contact. I think he could be a pretty quality catcher for us, and that's a position that's been a bugaboo ever since Shea Langoliers fell off the face of the earth. Now, you may have seen when I was scrolling down here, we brought in Adley Rutschman on a minor league deal. He's really not much of a catcher anymore, unfortunately, and not much of a hitter. He's a 2-time All-Star, Silver Slugger, and a lot of this came in real life and right after real life. 2025 Division Series MVP, but after this last season in Baltimore, where he was kind of relegated to a platoon hitter, had an awful season in Texas, and was available for the minimum. So we have Adley Rutschman now in the minor league system. To the infield. First base, Miguel Vargas, Tyler Soderstrom. You know about these guys. They both stick around, and they'll switch off DHing and first base duties randomly. Right now, Miguel Vargas has a sore elbow, but he's a first baseman, so he doesn't need to worry about throwing the baseball. At second base, this was a hard decision to make because we don't have many guys that are quality, but Manuel Pena, after a really good audition in September for us, breaks camp as our starting second baseman after we trade away Darryl Hernaiz, who, let me see, I think he was involved in the trade for one of the guys I'm going to talk about. Yeah, he's on the Guardians now. But this is what he is. He hit well in spring training. I don't know. I gave him enough chances. But now Pena, who we acquired in a trade with the Marlins a few years ago for some nobodies, is our starting second baseman. And I don't know how to feel about that. I needed another lefty. There's another righty down in AAA, Armando Cruz, who's got 70 infield range, but I just needed another lefty in the lineup to maximize the platoon advantage with the limitations we have hitting. Xavier Edwards' defense went down. I'm a bit disappointed at that. And I'll get it. Actually, I should get into why. Second base is open in the first place. I had intended Jacob Wilson to start the season at second base. I got him to improve his defense at second a little bit in the development lab. He played very well in spring training up until he got post-concussion syndrome, and he's out for the whole season. Can't draw it up any worse. Now 26, he'll have to wait for another opportunity in the major leagues. A few other guys. Brady Basso was hurt in spring training. Jairo Iriarte as well. And Cole Mathis, who I just put on the 40-man roster, he is a 50-grade reliever and a 50-grade first baseman. So he's out for 11 months. That just stinks with a torn rotator cuff. Very unfortunate. He was going to be our first draft pick to debut. I thought about keeping him up in the majors after a pretty good spring training showing, but he's out as well. Cooper Kinney we traded for, Pat Purcell, whatever. Connor Griffin out with a sprained ankle already. Ugh. Xavier Edwards. He can play kind of all over the diamond, switch hitter. Austin Charles we've traded for from the Kansas City Royals, along with Cooper Kinney, who's hurt for us in the minors, for A.J. Vukovich, Jesus Contreras, and Edgar Barajas. Vukovich, the big deal in this trade. Struggled in spring training for the Royals, but he's got some good ratings. Can play third base kind of effectively. But I don't know. I wanted to move on from him, and I like Charles better. He can play third base better than Vukovich, and he really excelled in spring training. He's 24, and he will platoon with Edwards at third. Nasim Nunez is our new shortstop, 70 infield range. I don't care what he does with the bat. We just need somebody capable at shortstop. Robert Moore was not last season. And Nunez comes over in a trade from Philadelphia for Joe Boyle and Young Ha Kwak, Korean minor leaguer. And that does it for the infield. So let's get into, or I guess I should say that we did win 2 awards. American League Gold Glove winners. Ryan McMahon, who is now with the Los Angeles Angels, signed for a cheap deal. Maybe I could have brought him back. Didn't really look into it. But he's with the Angels now. Hit decently well in spring training. I probably should have brought him back now that I'm looking at his ratings. He fell off a bit, so he must have improved. Yeah, because he was down to a 45 for our scout. The eye was falling. I don't know. We'll see how he does in the regular season, but he won a Gold Glove for us, as well as Dalton Varsho, who is still a free agent. And you know what? Let's bring him back. We already made the mistake with McMahon, the possible mistake. There were some interesting award winners. Colt Keith wins MVP with the Tigers. I'd love to see that in real life, but he's off to a pretty slow start. He's the best third baseman in baseball. Another thing I'd love to see for my Tigers. George Kirby wins his second Cy Young. Jake Geloff wins Rookie of the Year. Edwin Diaz, 4th Reliever of the Year award for the National League. Ellie De La Cruz walks away with an MVP finally after an 8.3 WAR season in 2025, was not rewarded with an MVP as Juan Soto won it, who's been chugging along with the Dodgers. Shishin Rao, who I talked about in the last video as guiding the Cubs to a World Series victory, 18 wins, 3.03 ERA, nearly the Triple Crown if he just got strikeouts, almost 200 though, wins the Cy Young for the Cubbies. Kevin Alcantara, Rookie of the Year as well for the Northsiders. And David Bednar with the Braves wins Reliever of the Year. Those are some of the awards. AAA. Another international signing, Taiwanese Cha Ching Kwei, who I need to see the full scouting report on, is a right-handed outfielder, 31 years old, can't really play defense. I don't know, we brought him in because he's a possible good hitter. Matt Horvath is another guy who I could see come up as a captain. So many low-contact guys. Carlos Rodriguez, not one of them, but doesn't have pop. Brought him in on a minor league deal. Yohendrick Pinango is back on the 40-man roster. Bob Moore. Nolan Arenado signed to a minor league contract after a poor showing in St. Louis in his last year there. If people struggle at third, maybe we bring Arenado up. We'll see. Armando Cruz down here. If Nasim Nunez struggles, Cruz will come up to play shortstop. We got him in a trade not Gabriel Martinez, Armando Cruz in a trade with the Guardians for Darryl Hernandez and Arturo Navarro. Also got Brewer Hicklin, but cut him. Gabriel Martinez down in AAA once again after a poor showing in spring training. We'll see if he can come up. He missed most, if not all, of last season, essentially, with an injury. Jake Rogers on a minor league deal in AAA as a catcher. Jose Alvarez as well. Will Banfield, sure. Talked about these pitchers. Junior Marino, we signed out of the Atlantic League from the Long Island Ducks. He's got an interesting skill set. He's DH only, 80 potential I, does not strike out, very free-swinging Venezuelan young 23-year-old. I don't know. Werner Blakely, Rob Sears, a draft pick now in Double-A. That's about it. Double-A not looking great. High-A, though, Ismael Ayala, good season in the minors last year, probably ends up at third base. Grady Emerson, the ratings have fallen a bit. Not excited about that after a poor showing in high A. I needed to promote him, though. He's tearing the cover off the ball in single A. 65 infield range. Gio Ducre, Ben Allen, Alfredo Duno, who we claimed on waivers. I might bump up to Double A. Yeah, that's a better plan here for Duno. And then bump down somebody. Michael Turner. Carlos Franco, I don't care about you. And you don't match the rules. I'll probably cut Michael Turner. He can't play catcher. This is a jam. Hakopian. I'll send him back down. He's not very good. And then I'll move Michael Turner to first because he's more of a first baseman anyways. And then now we need a catcher. We don't have many options. Josh Springer should go up to high A, sure. And then we can cut somebody here. He stinks, but I need a third catcher. Sorry, Akopian. You're gone. I think I saw you play. Who do you play for in real life? He was one of our draft picks from Wake Forest. Yes, I did see a game where he played. Not in real life, but on TV. Now we need a catcher from rookie ball. Mike Shields or anybody else over here. Edgar Zamora. No, we'll take Mike Shields, move Zamora here. Now we have full minor league rosters. Vaughn Necker now up to high A as well. And in A ball, Ernesto Garces, who might pound for pound be our best prospect at this point. Phil King, Juan Pacheco, Hae-Chan Kim, Luis Tapia, they're all in A-ball. Like, we got to see them evolve a little bit before we can declare them the future of the team, but we need them to become the future of the team. Pat Brasseur is hurt. He's another guy who's going to step in to the starting rotation. He inflamed his shoulder in spring training, which is unfortunate. Connor Griffin, another one of those guys, 95th prospect in baseball, our first-round pick last season, hurt with a sprained ankle, but need him to produce. And a few other guys. I'm pumping in as much money as possible in the minor league budget. I have the best coaches to do the job, but we just need a boost of some kind with this roster. I'm trying to think. Here's the salary page. Here's all our salaries paying a measly $62.5 million payroll. Our budget might be increased by $14 million next season if, and probably only if, we reach our preseason predictions, which again are 79 and 83. We disproved those by going 80 and 82, but although I think we've improved, we were very lucky in the Pythagorean zone, and the Rangers and the Mariners have improved their rosters, and they're good rosters anyway. Zach Gallen, Framber Valdez on the Rangers now. The Mariners lost some talent, but brought in some talent. Cole Young, good-looking second baseman. Rafael Devers still on the team. Tyler Locklear. Like, they signed Kyle Tucker, was a big deal. Was a big deal. Yeah. You know, we'll just have to see what happens. Here's the NL standings. Braves supposed to be the best team in baseball. Guardians to win the Central with 83 wins. Anything else I can go into just yet? I think we're good. Here's the team. There's the expectation. Hope we meet it. And hope you keep watching. Sorry for the gap in uploads, but they should be back to being regularly scheduled now that I'm at home. Catch you later. Bye.